Cool. So I think we're good to go. So thank you ever so much for so many of you joining us this evening. And thank you very, very much, Denise, for those of you who were expecting someone else this evening. We did have, the lovely Maureen York was going to join us, but she had double booked herself. So the equally amazing, in fact, maybe, well, the lovely Denise Holland decided she would come and talk to us. And now I had the pleasure of meeting Denise just a couple of weeks ago when I was lucky enough to go to Spain for a few days, and we had some lovely conversations. And what I will say is Denise heard all about me and knows everything about me, and I didn't give her a chance to get a word in edgeways, which I'm sure those of you that know me know. I was really excited when you were going to be here tonight, because I am really excited to hear about you and what you found, you know, when you came across this understanding. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell people about what it is you do, and go?
All right. Yeah, okay. So I run a business called Class Performance Excellence Within, and it started out to be predominantly just sports people. But when I lost my attachment, if you like, to working in sports, which is what I've been working in for the last 20 years, it all seemed to open up. And now I have clients that are working in business. I have a lot of youth clients, so youth under the 23, 24. I still have clients that are in sports, but sometimes they're not in sport, and they're just, maybe they're on the spectrum, or maybe they're just troubled. So I've started to get involved in some relationship work. So really, I just currently rebranding my business, because it occurred to me that actually all we're doing is looking at human performance. And the spectrum of human performance is like, it's just so vast. It's, you know, in terms of, you've got lots of people that can hardly get out of bed every day, and you've got other people that are looking for marginal gains on a particular performance to get them gold winning medal performances. So I've rebranded the business, and we're just about to put some lovely new images up, which says that the business is about spiritual principles behind human performance.
Oh, wow.
I really like it. And, you know, it might lose the sport thing altogether. It seems I'm more looking towards education.
Yeah.
But, and I have this inner drive, this real energy to look at supporting those that are really disadvantaged in other countries.
Oh, wow.
I've loved, I've travelled across China when I was working in Hong Kong for 10 years. I started out working in China and travelled north to south of China. And it just gives me that buzz really to work with other cultures. And this is just such an amazing message to bring to other cultures. So I do have that. Not quite sure how that's going to play out, but that would be a lovely thing to do with my life.
I think that's what is so amazing about the principles, really, because like you say, you came across this, you were in sport, and so obviously I think we're very much aware that in sports, you know, people want a coach, and people want this high performance. They want to be some, you know, they want to reach a certain, there's something specific that they're trying to do, and yet what the principles say actually is it's the same thing that's playing out absolutely everywhere. And, you know, you've mentioned lots of things there. You've mentioned parenting, you've mentioned working with the youth, there was loads of things that you mentioned. And the principles, what is so brilliant about this understanding is that it is across the board. We can all benefit, you know, all those people can benefit from an understanding of how their own mind works. Yeah. So when did you come across the principles, Denise?
Okay, so just a bit of a backstory.
Yep.
I came to principles in January 2013, and I had actually just, if you like, lost my role as national coach for Scotland, and I had been doing that role for 4.5 years of a 6-year agreement. contract, or understanding anyway, to take the Scottish Thistles to the Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games. And to remain completely professional, I found myself, if you like, no longer in the role. So just a bit of backstory to give you an idea of what I was going through. I've always had this notion that somehow I had to be the best I could be as a human being. And I think that that's something that kids are ingrained in school, even now, be the best you can be. But what I heard was, no, you need to be the best human being that you can be. And if you're not, then you're not doing very well. All right. So I heard it very differently, and nothing was good enough for me. So my expectations and standards was never going to be, I was always striving to get to the next thing. So my career had taken me as a national athlete. I played for Hong Kong. I played in the 91 World Championships for netball in Sydney. I played in 95 in Birmingham. I did 2 Asian championships. So I was an elite athlete as a netballer. And I came back to England and started to get involved in the netball and the technical team for about 8 years. But that wasn't enough for me. So I needed more. I was always striving. I ended up being the Super League coach for the Brunel Hurricanes, and I did 7 years there at Brunel University. And that led me to applying for the national coach position in Scotland, and I got it. So this job was everything to me. It was just, it also very much flowed through me. And I seemed to find myself as a national coach. And I couldn't really understand how that happened, really. But I did really feel that sense of flow. And then when I did 46 internationals for Scotland, and we went from 17th to 12th in the world. We travelled around the globe, including the Cook Islands, New Zealand. We went to Barbados. We went to Singapore. You know, it was a fantastic job. And the pinnacle of that job was going to be to take the Scottish Thistles to Glasgow 2014, the Commonwealth Games. And then 18 months out, you know, things change, and I'm not at liberty to say because of confidentiality in terms of a national position, but I was no longer going to the Commonwealth Games, and goalposts move anyway, as we know, in these national positions. And that was really, that was the end of it. And so you can imagine 65-hour weeks traveling from England to Scotland on a Wednesday, coming back on a Sunday, Monday, having 2 days at home, and, you know, getting up at 4:30, being on court still at 10, being back on court at 6 in the morning the whole time I was in Scotland. And then to be doing that and committing and dedicating myself, because that was what I wanted to do. I was a high achiever, and I didn't know that I was being driven by this. I didn't know that I was being driven by this. I'm not enough until I get there. I only found out that later on.
Yeah.
So I was having this whole drive. And so when the role stopped, and I was really hurting, and to see the players hurting as well, it was just a mess. You know, it was a bit of a mess, but I knew that it was something would come out of it. But I was driving down the M6 and I pulled into the service station, and I literally put my hands up in the air and said, okay, this really hurts. Can you give me something to keep me occupied for the next 3 months? And I was kind of just saying this to God, really. And Jamie Smart's book was just that. And I literally went, oh, okay, then this one. And I took it off the shelf. And I saw clear mind, better performance, better results or something. I thought, well, that's okay, that'll do. So I read it cover to cover. And it was a bit hardcore, I have to say. And I'm like, what? And that led me to Michael Neill's book, Inside Out Revolution. And then somewhere in the middle of that book, I had this epiphany moment of, oh my goodness me, am I really making this all up? And it was shocking to me, absolutely shocking. And I could see that my experience was optional. It wasn't mandatory, given the circumstances. It wasn't inflicted on me. It wasn't something that was inevitable, given the circumstances. That suddenly there was an option, because it wasn't coming from the situation. It wasn't coming from the fact that I had, lost my dream job. That somehow it was all coming from inside, and that I didn't have to pay attention to that thinking. And that was just shocking. I never considered that before. I had started to consider other things before in my national career about performance and the mind. And then when I started to learn about the principles, that started to make real sense to me. And we can talk about that in a minute if you like. But when I first had that epiphany type moment, I literally cried, I laughed. The whole weekend, I was a bit of a space cadet, really. I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable if this is true. And it totally felt true, because the feeling in the pit of my stomach, I was really hurting, and it just dissolved. It just went. And then I started to get all filled up with love and compassion for the people in the organization, that they are only responding from how it is they see the world and how it is their state of mind is. And then I just thought, oh my goodness, I can still go to the Commonwealth Games. I can still enjoy it. I can still respect the new coach coming in. I can still take my management team with me, because lots of them had left also. And I can still love the whole Scottish Thistles team. I don't have to be there doing that. It's not about Denise. I learned that it wasn't about me, and my whole ego just started to crumble away. And that's exactly what happened. I had a great time. 18 months later, we went up there and we had an amazing time. And I was, proud of the work that I'd done for 4.5 years. We'd taken them a long way. And then the new coach came in actually 10 months later. So she only had a year in the role, and took them to the Commonwealth Games. And it was an amazing opportunity, which would never have been available to me had I not found this understanding of how the human mind works to create experience, and that it isn't coming from outside circumstances ever, even though it looks like it was. I would never have known that. And then I started to see, why is it that I started to see what I had on it of being a national coach. And I'm like, I kind of was like this, I was like, really? I was cringeworthy. Like, really, Denise? Are you that fragile that you think that you needed to do that in order to feel whole and complete? And yes. And I can remember when I was 8 years old, I came second in a running race. And I was so disturbed by it, I changed the certificate to first. Can you imagine? I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? But there was something that it wasn't ever going to be enough. I had these expectations. And every time I got to the level, that wasn't enough. I needed the next one. So it's going to be enough until I found the principles and realized, oh my gosh, I'm already enough. I'm already complete with wisdom, infinite wisdom, completely resilient as a human being. And here's the thing, guys, that really struck me. There is nothing to prove. And I didn't see that. I thought that our purpose in life was to lead a great life and to prove that you could lead your best life. There was something in this achievement thing for me. And I saw, no, Denise, you're not a human proving, you're a human being. And you're not a human doing even, you're a human being. And I started to see, oh my gosh, you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to achieve anything. And the achievement is conceptual. And that's a thought. All concepts are a thought, which are man-made. And it let me off the hook. I saw it. Oh my God, I really don't have to do this anymore. And I literally got out, I didn't, that was a little while later, actually, I really started to see that. And I think the big one was when I was having a conversation with Linda Pransky, and this was brilliant because I was struggling a little bit with this. And she said, oh, I see. You think you're in a special boat.
You think you're different.
You think you're different. I was like, I really didn't like it. I was like, and then I started to laugh. Oh my God, I really do. Yeah, you're right. I do. I think I should be able to. And I saw that, and it just, the more you see it, the more it starts to dissolve. Your thought created beliefs, the world you live in, starts to dissolve. And that's what happened to me. And now, you know, I've gone from treadmill stuff, trying to get to the next thing and achieving it, to, oh, let's see what shows up. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't make me all lazy and laissez-faire and all that it'll come to me. No, because I'm actually really very busy. But it's coming from a place of neutrality, if you like, and love and beingness, as opposed to coming from a place of needing to prove to myself. And here's the thing, I was never really needing the approval of others. I didn't kind of have that.
Okay.
But I did have that I needed to prove to myself. And that was, yeah, equally as big. I mean, it was big. And I realized that I'd made that up. I'd made it up. And even though my life as a netball coach has been fantastic, and I could really feel being in flow a lot of the time, I can see that it's almost the universal intelligence, consciousness way of bringing me back to myself. Like, it's almost like I had to do that whole journey and then lose my job. Which then grounded me. It's like I was ready, I was ripe then to see and blossom into the world of truth about who and what I am as a spiritual being, as they say, having a human experience. I know it's said a lot. I can't think of any other way of saying it, but it's so true. Yeah.
Oh, that is lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was really, really beautiful to listen to. And one of the things that really kind of strikes me personally when you're talking about that is how entirely different our stories are of coming across the principles and the changes and what happened. I mean, our lives couldn't be more different. I mean, I feel very, very humbled sitting here talking to a top coach. It's not, and yet what really keeps coming to me is that is the brilliant thing about it, because even though the stuff that, the things that you were describing as your problems or the things that were getting in your way or what was going on in your mind were so different, worlds apart from mine, and yet the same thing was the answer. Yeah. And I just think that is what is so brilliant about the principles, because it does bring all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're, a king or a pauper, whether you're a top coach or a housewife, whether you're a psychiatrist or you work in an office, it doesn't matter what it is you do. And it does, if you're kind of sitting here thinking, well, it's all very well for, Denise with her problems, but what I absolutely love is any of us, if we kind of stop this and had any person who's here or any other person in the world, if we stopped them and they described what it was that they were finding difficult or what it was that was going on for them, this understanding would be the thing that could turn that around for them. I love that. Thank you. There was something you said earlier when you said we'd come back to it, and I thought yes, and now it's completely gone out of my head.
I don't know. What's occurring?
Shall we ask if anyone has got any questions? I think people can unmute themselves because it'd be nice to have a little bit of a conversation. So if anyone is, wants to ask any questions, I think you can unmute yourself. You can chat, you can put your hand up, you can unmute, whatever. But it would be great to hear, what other people are hearing from Denise, if anyone's got any questions or comments. I think you've just made everybody's minds just go so still, so quiet. It was just so lovely, that sharing. It's just.
Oh, bless you. I guess I could probably share what I'm seeing now, if you like.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd love that.
Yeah.
I could just listen to you, and it's not very. It's usually quite difficult to make me shut up, so that was quite good that I stayed quiet that long.
Yes, and I think this is what's so lovely about this understanding is you never know when you're going to see something for what it is. You don't know what you're holding in place as, if you like, solid, the constant, when it actually isn't. It's actually impermanent, it's fluid, but we hold it, don't we, as a belief, and we hold it and we live from that space. And then I started to see, in fact, in Spain, I started to see some stuff around relationships. So I'm really happy to share that with you now, if you like, because I know that we kind of got into this chat.
Yeah, we had an amazing chat, didn't we? It was great.
We did. And this could be helpful for people that are in because I think relationship is really fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of juicy stuff there.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of really fresh for me right now. So I'll try and articulate it. So, and there's a definite change from before Spain and after Spain. So it's easy to say that piece. So before I went to Spain, I was having some thinking around my ex-husband, who I love dearly, and he'd got a new girlfriend. And I was having some thinking around it, and it's really surprised me because we've been separated 13 years. And although we've only been divorced 2 years, we have lived very much as a family, but separate and very functional. And we've really, because of the principles, I think, have found a really beautiful way to be in connection with each other. outside of the concepts of what it is we think we should be when we're married, like live in the same house, have a physical relationship, so we separated in terms of that, but we still were in union with each other and in connection with each other. And then, so 2 years ago, we kind of we'll tidy up the paperwork, really. Until this year, and he got a girlfriend. Well, I had lots of thinking before I came to Spain. And I could hardly speak about it, to be honest. It was really fresh. And I thought, well, what's that mean then? I had all this feeling coming up. There was some jealousy and just a pit in my stomach. And what I know to be true is if I get a feeling like that, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a feeling. And before, I would have had a feeling and thought, well, that must mean that I need to have a chat with him. And actually, it means that I need to talk about it. And actually, that might mean that we need even to consider getting back together. No, Denise. You're just having a feeling. It's just an experience. And I didn't need to do any add-ons. All right. But what was interesting for me is that the love thing was really, was still, I mean, it still is, but it doesn't hurt me now. Was before I was hurting. I thought, well, what is that? And then I realized that, no, Denise, you don't have to ask what is it, because if you ask what it is, then you're bringing some form around it and you're making it a solid rock, like it's a something. And I thought, no, I see, there is enough love to go around for everyone. And then I saw, oh, I see, it's not up to us. That love is impersonal. And therefore, if love is impersonal, then relationship must be impersonal too. Because we're not the ones controlling our states of mind. It's happening. It's an experience. It's almost neutral, whether it's yin, yang, positive, negative. It's just experience. Mm-hmm. And I saw that even our separation was an effect of our states of mind. And that is guided by this universal divine intelligence behind all things. And so I saw, oh, I see. It's not, I didn't need to hold on to anything because there was nothing to hold on to. That we are all divine bundles of energy, bundles of love, and we make up that we should be with a person for a period of time. And then we make up that, oh, no, if you're with them, then you get married. Oh my goodness, that's forever. That's like a lifetime. and I, oh my God, how does that work? Your whole state of mind is changing the whole time. And really, that's still not up to you. It looks like we have the level of control. But you know what? I can see that I have no control over the thoughts that come into my head. And I have no control over the ones it seems that I see as real and significant and ones I see as thought. Because if I could have control, trust me, I would entertain the good ones all the time.
Yeah, we all would, wouldn't we?
And the ones that make me feel nice, right? Yeah. So if that was the case, we would all do that. So that's not the case. Mm. And so I could see how there's no needing to control my exes. There's no needing to control anything. That I was able to surrender and let him go and have his experiences in the world. And it didn't mean anything about me as a human being. And I was free. And when I came back from Spain, it was huge to see that relationship is impersonal, and that's the only way I could express it. And that actually, under our personal thinking, we're in relationship, in connection with everyone all the time anyway. And I didn't need to control the form. And if I did try to control the form, I was just going to have that experience of trying to control something you can't control. Which doesn't normally go so well.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how we think that we know best, and we think, you know, yeah, I wonder what the world would be like if we could control all of those things. But yeah, it so much looks as if we do have control. And like you say, when we get into those places and we feel those things, it very much feels as if it is personal. It's huge, isn't it, when we see the impersonal nature of things. Beautiful.
It's so beautiful, Deb. And I really surprised myself, because when last week I was like, oh, I wonder if Nigel and Tarina want to come round for a drink. I would never have been saying that a month ago. That's just, I can't even begin to tell you the change, because it's all gone. It's all just shifted. It's all just lovely. And it didn't mean anything. And I was giving meaning to it. I was giving meaning that somehow we had that special love, that special something that shouldn't be broken. No. That special something is always there. That's the permanence of who and what we are as human beings. That's the energy that I said, you know, that we're all made of. And I didn't need to start controlling the form or continue to control the form or think I could control the form, because I saw that I couldn't. And it's such a relief. It's so freeing to see that. And I don't know if I've articulated what it is I've seen very well, but yeah, that's been the impact. That, you know, Christmas Eve, we're all going to be at Nigel's sisters, and we're all going to be there together having a lovely time. That's a beautiful way to be in the world, and honestly and truly not hurt. Yeah,
I think you've articulated it beautifully. I have really enjoyed listening to you. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
Bless you.
Appreciate you sharing. And I think it is, you know, we get so in our heads and feel we do jobs way above our pay grade, don't we? We meddle in things that we absolutely don't need to be meddling in. And it's that kind of meddling around in that gives us all this pain that we feel all the time. And yet, you know, if we can just, there is so much more space and so much more freedom and so much less for us to do if we just allow and relax. But I know sometimes when those feelings come upon us, whatever it is, like you were describing that feeling when your ex-husband got a new girlfriend and then you were just swamped by this feeling. And I think sometimes it can be really confusing for people because, you know, all sorts of things we get swamped by those feelings, and they do a little bit like your experience. It's sort of, you weren't expecting that, or that's what I heard. You weren't, you know, I bet if you'd have thought, oh, if he gets a girlfriend, you'd have probably said, oh, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, sometimes these feelings can come upon us really unexpectedly. We can be somewhere or doing something and all of a sudden we're swamped by this. And I think when we don't understand that we don't have to be frightened of those sometimes really, really strong feelings, and if we don't get confused and think that we have to change something out in the outside world, because, you know, straight away you were saying, oh, it would have meant to you before, the feeling felt as if you needed to have a word with him, or you needed to get back together, or you there was this huge lot of stuff that you had to do because this feeling had ended up, you know, you'd ended up in this feeling. So it was absolutely down to you to change that. Yeah, it's really good when we can see that, however big and strong and, you know, whatever that the feeling that comes over us, we don't have to be frightened of it, and we don't have to take the actions that it appears to be sometimes screaming at us that we need to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, for me, I there is a difference. I knew that Denise's ego was in there. I knew it was kind of, I had the feeling that it was my ego being hurt. And that when wisdom shows up, there is you go to your good feeling place to the other person and other persons. So I went to my good feeling place towards his new girlfriend, who I know anyway. But when I was caught in my ego mind, my good feeling place was kind of nowhere to be seen, really. It was all about me. It was all about satisfying my immediacy. There was an urgency about it. There was an immediacy about it. And I've learned that when I feel that I want to do something really quickly about it, like pick up the phone or run up the road, or I know, Denise, get out of there. That does not feel like wisdom. Because the place I'm coming from is different, completely different. And that's kind of one of my measures, is just check in with, do I have a good feeling for that other person or persons that it's about? And if I don't, then it's not the time to address anything or to be in conversation. And most of the time, as our psychological immune system, if you like, kicks in and those thoughts clear, when you look at it from that fresh space, it's entirely different anyway. So the problem that you thought you had is actually completely changed and actually probably dissolved altogether, as it was in the case. There was nothing to get over, because for me, I wasn't going to be running up the road asking to get back together. But for me, I thought, oh no, it's going to take time to get over this one. Right? No. When I was settled down, there was nothing to get over. There was no time necessary. Like Sydney Banks said, we can jump time, space, and matter. And in that moment, I often feel that's what happens, is that you evolve completely in the moment. That experience you was having at one point, you no longer have it. It's completely different. It's gone from here to here, and you see it now in through a completely different lens, and therefore you're having a completely different experience of exactly the same situation. And now that in an old world for me, that might have been years to get over it. And then when you start to remember it, you go back in there.
Yeah.
And you experience it again, although you're not experiencing it, because it's never got that time in it. The equation is never complete, because you know that you're only experiencing it in this time, and you know you're not experiencing that which happened then, because all you're doing is imagining today's thoughts into being. But even that you can see for what it is. And I could see that I didn't need to do that, because there was no point. There was just no point.
The whole time thing really fascinates me, because that was a conversation I was having today with some people, was that if somebody dies, it takes time to get over them, if a relationship ends, or we have this whole expectation. And what's been interesting when you've been talking, what's occurring to me is all the amazing stories we make up about life, these fantastic stories that we weave and tell. And I love stories. I think stories are brilliant, but we really weave these amazing stories, don't we? And one of the stories we tell ourselves is this thing about time, that actually for something to be different, time is involved. But what I see more and more is exactly like you said, we have an insight and it's changed. Stuff changes in an instant. And, it's gone, that's it. And we have these habits, I think, in the environment we live in. We're very, we kind of say to somebody, oh, how are you? Oh, hi, nice to see you. How are you? And then if someone says, oh, not so good, then our next question is, oh, what happened? And then we're into this story. We're kind of, embellishing our story about what it was that happened. And we're in there then. We're sort of buying into this story. And then this whole thing, then about time, it's going to take you a while to get past that. And what I've noticed more and more I'm seeing with the principals is this whole thing that our okayness is always available. It's not, it will be available to us, but it's not a tomorrow thing or a next week thing or when I've got over this or when this has changed or anything. That okayness, that love, that thing that you were talking about, that thing that the foundation of who we are and what we are is never not available to us. It's never not there. Shall we see if anyone has got any questions? But I think you're really kind of quiet, and it's just so lovely to listen to you talk, and I think everybody's kind of getting, but we'll give anybody a chance. If anyone wants to unmute themselves or type something in, or has anyone got any questions that they would like to ask our lovely person, Denise? Give somebody a minute to see if they know.
Hi.
Hey, Becky.
I just wanted to ask if you could share a little bit about how you, how the principle sort of comes into being in your current business and what you do now.
Okay. All right. So what in the field of sport?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. This is really this is kind of new for me as well. So I can see that sports coaching has traditionally gone into, say, it has 5 or 6 components. So you have your technical, your tactical, your physical, and your kind of emotional. These are traditional technical parts. And coaches these days are really focused on the physical and the technical and the tactical. And they might have some additional support to look at anything that's emotional or to do with mental skills training. And those traditional supports are generally the higher you've got the ladder are more traditional sports psychologists. So what I'm seeing is that we can change sports coaching such that we can ensure that all athletes, all coaches, all sports people have an understanding of their own psychology, and that we can move away from behavioral-based performance programs, i.e. where we're looking at behaviors and looking at responses and looking therefore at the problem and trying to fix it and trying to make it better. And in performance, I saw this is a beautiful, the other day, I wrote a post actually just recently. I was just courtside, and it's funny how these things, Deb, you just hear yourself. I heard myself saying, get in front of the player. And I could feel myself getting a little bit frustrated. So I checked in with myself. Oh, no, Denise, that's you. And I thought, okay, so how am I going to help these players? And I saw really clearly, no, Denise, the principles here, they are the principles. And I can see more and more that if we can help players to perform from source, to perform from a space which is purer, without all of their head noise, then you're going to get transformation in performances that I think will evolve anything we've ever seen before. And so any direction that I now give players, I probably do out of habit, all right? And I'm seeing that more and more. So I'm less and less, I'm creating environments that allow them to explore performance and to see what's possible for them, and completely non-judgmental from themselves and from others, so that they can be like a baby who goes from crawling to walking. Like, no one teaches a baby to crawl. Nobody teaches a baby to walk. They just do it. And what I try to get athletes and coaches to see is that it's in the system. You have a particular makeup, a particular body that we live in, and it's already designed in there. And all we need to do is to tap into the intelligence behind it, and to see what's possible for it, so we can explore what's possible for it, rather than coming from an outsider point of view and seeing what it is we think the body should be able to do in terms of performance. And the two are completely different, because one, you're working on the body to produce performance, and the other one, you are getting in harmony with what it is the physical body and mind is made of, and then you're exploring what's possible. Does that make that clear?
That was perfect. Thank you, Denise.
We love you.
Bless
I mean, the whole, since I've come across the principles, what I have really seen for myself is, as we begin to understand this, like you're saying, you said it so beautifully, that we get an understanding of the system. And when we work with that system, how, whatever it is we do, whether it's sport, whether it's parenting, whether it's relationship, anything, if we are flowing with the system, and then just, like you say, playing around with what is possible, what can we do? And I just think that gives us our best human experience. And it's just, it's fun. You know, I really think one of the things that we get in our heads about is we take life so seriously. We think, you know, when you were talking earlier about when you were this coach and you needed to be better and you needed to drive and you needed more, we take all that so seriously, don't we? It's kind of like it's really important to take life seriously and to do it well and to do it. But to me, like when you were talking about children, and especially with sports and things like that, if we just play for the fun of playing, we investigate and just have some fun, things tend to work out for us anyway. You know, it's just fun. And I can really see that understanding of this that's behind life, it's the same. And I know I've kind of done some stuff around the Dare to Be You, and very much that for me was, okay, now I know this, and I know sometimes I have scary thinking and I feel scared sometimes. What can I do anyway? What's possible? You know, can I talk on a webinar? Can I stand up in front of people and talk? Can I just share these principles, even though I have a lot of thinking about what people might think of me? Can I do this? And it just keeps going. Can I jump out of an airplane? Can I do stuff? And it's fun. It's all just about, what can I do? And in all arenas, you know, like even when things that do come up that appear to be serious, you know, if my son gets upset or something like that, what can I do? what can I do actually from here and from knowing this? What can I do different? And it feels it's fun. So it's really great that, to me, and I kind of knew this would probably happen anyway, but it's really good again to talk to somebody coming from such a different perspective, whose life experiences have been totally different to mine, and yet you can see that ultimately there is nothing different going on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's when we kind of, and the principles connects us back to that place where we're all the same. And everything, you know, I have never moved in the sporting world or everything, but everything you've shared just kind of, it just makes so much sense, even in my world, which is a very different world to yours. And I think we can just keep, if applying is the right word, we can just keep seeing, I suppose, that this is playing out always, everywhere, for everybody. And there's never anything different going on.
Yeah. And for me, Deb, I think what I've found is that I've stopped chasing, like, with an understanding of the principles. I first was chasing the good experiences, therefore, because I had an understanding, right? And then I thought, no. If they're just experiences, you can have them. And there is a difference between, I don't know, having an experience which doesn't feel very nice and can be painful, but you're not suffering.
Yeah.
And so it's still, it's guiding you, it's showing you there's something in it for you, but you know you're okay. You know you're the divine intelligence of all things, and therefore there's no lostness. You are not, for me anyway, and I can only speak for me, I guess when I'm having my low moments, I don't see that I'm suffering, whereas before I was suffering, and now it's much lighter. So I don't need to go chasing good experiences and getting out of the bad ones. I tend to just see now, oh, okay, this is interesting. Or is there something in here for me to see? And yeah, sure enough, you get in harmony, don't you, with, and in synchronicity with the energy of all things. And it's like, you know, you always got the car parking spot when you go in the car park. You know, you start to see the little things just showing up, and it happens almost every day.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, wow. And I'm in awe of it. I'm like, wow. I even get messages in my dreams. And I wake up and go, really? Is that what I'm to do today? And this feeling of being lived.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just amazing. All of it. All of it.
Plodding around all night. Yeah, it is. It's amazing, isn't it, when we get into that place? And you know, truth is everywhere. It's kind of, it's like it is trying to show itself to us in everything, everywhere. And I think when we are up in our heads and so concerned with ourselves and so consumed by, you know, oh, this has got to be, we're trying to meddle in these things, then we just miss that. And the whole thing behind the Lovely People webinars, why these are called the Lovely People webinars, is because the more that I see this, it just looks, I mean, look on this screen, look at all these beautiful, lovely people. I just feel as if I'm continually being surrounded by the most beautiful people. I just feel like the world is full of lovely people. And, you know, it's just, it seems that is in everything as we get eyes to see that.
Yeah,
we begin to see that everywhere. And it shows up in our life everywhere. In all sorts of things. And, you know, it's not as if life doesn't happen. Like, you know, you had that hiccup when we were in Spain as short a time ago as a couple of weeks ago. You know, my life continues to be life. Stuff happens. You know, try to do a webinar and my son spends the whole night shoveling through the freezer that's over there. And life just keeps being life. Things just keep happening. And it's just, it's so just nice to find this okayness that is the foundation of who you are. That's always underneath all of that stuff. It's always there, and it's always available to all of us. Well, I've noticed that we've got to 8:01, so I kind of don't want to keep people if they want to dash off, but has anyone got any questions or anything they want to add or share or anything like that? And that's been amazing, Denise. I've just loved.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I managed to shut up enough to give you a chance to tell me that was lovely.
Thank you. Well,
anyone got anything they would like to share, add, ask, or anything before we call it a night?
Thank you, Denise. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Lucy.
You're awesome.
Lovely to see you guys. And sorry I can't make it this weekend. It's your thing this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to make it down, but
it's all right.
Another time in the new year, I'd love to come down.
Yes, come to the retreat in February. Yeah, man.
Okay, so we have got, yes, as Denise said, there is something going on at my house at the weekend. So if anyone lives near enough to me and is interested in that, just message, get in touch. We would absolutely love you to be here. I put out a daily email every day. If anyone wants to receive that email, you can go on to my website, deborahsimmons.co.uk, and find out all about that. I do fortnightly meetups at Barnstable Library. If anyone lives near enough there to come, that would be lovely to see you. And Denise, you've got a website, haven't you? What's your website if anybody wants to find out more about you or contact you?
Yeah, I've got a website, www.class-performance.com. And I've got a podcast show which goes out pretty much every Sunday now. And that's called Podium. And it's on iTunes and Google Play. And it's called Spiritual Truths Behind Elite Sports Performance.
Well, if anyone didn't hear any of all of those things, you know, if that was a little bit quick, I will put on Facebook, I will put a little thing about Denise's contact details and that. So if anyone wants to know any more about anything else, please feel free. We're very lovely people, happy to talk to people, happy to, you know, and if anyone's got any questions that they didn't want to ask on here that they want afterwards, please do get in touch, ask questions. I'm sure Denise is happy to get into a conversation with anyone as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Very passionate and very keen to share what we found. So, right. Well, thank you, everybody. I will unmute everybody so you can say goodbye. And thank you. Lovely
to say who's on for next week.
So next week we have the lovely Dave Ellery, who's going to be joining us, who's going to be our lovely person. So Dave is amazing. So look out for that on Facebook. Look out for that in your emails. I will be sharing all about that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. Bye.
Stay there, Julie.
Bye.
Stay there, Julie.
No, bye-bye.
Oh, I don't know. Go away, Tony. Not really. We love you, Tony. I've gone. Yeah, he took the hint though. Yes. I'm so subtle. Teresa, don't go anywhere.